Good afternoon. First, I would like to thank Padania Pastrana, the director and organizer of this conference, for the invitation, and I'm honored to represent Brazil here, and I will make all the efforts that are necessary to speak Portuñol. I would like to apologize for possible mistakes I might make in Spanish. If I'm speaking about palliative care, postgraduate education in Brazil, the actions that we are implementing I wanted to give you some of the context. Our country is a country with continental dimensions. We have 200 million inhabitants and an index of human development which is considered to be high. However, our situation in palliative care still has a lot to improve. If we compare ourselves with the rest of the world, we are at the 3A level according to the WHO, meaning that in Brazil there are islets of palliative care, but those islets are just a few in a big sea without palliative care. And these islets are not integrated among themselves or with the system. Our situation is much lagging behind if we compare it with Argentina, that has a greater number of islets, and also we are after Chile, Uruguay, and Panama, which have a greater number of islets and a better integration to the health system. And this, of course, makes us think about common sense. We are much after the US and other countries which already have some position in the system. According to The Economist, our country is not doing well in terms of palliative care. People die feeling pain. They die badly, if you will. Here, this is where we are in Brazil, in the third slide. After countries with a GDP and a human development index which is much lower than ours. Our country stopped developing itself on palliative care, unfortunately. According to the Lancet commissions, our country is not prescribing many opioids. We have the 5th largest population in the world, but in this graph, our country does not even show up, and we prescribe less opioids, less than half of those opioids which Chile and Argentina prescribe for 1 million people per day. We then have the need of more than 1 million patients who need palliative care per year, and this without considering their relatives. This will rise up the number even more. Now, however, if we see our country much closer, what we might see is that there are just a few islands. Our association tried to find them. We found 172 of these palliative care services in the country, and they look like they are a lot. But if we compare ourselves to the US, which has a comparable population, in 2000, there were 658 teams in the US, and in our country with a similar population had 172. If we think that in Brazil there are 2,500 hospitals with more than 50 beds, we have that less than 1% of Brazilian hospitals have a palliative care team. And this is distributed in an unequal manner. The southeast region, the richest region of our country, has almost 60% of the teams, and almost half of them are in one state only, in Sao Paulo, and the others are in the Paulista Avenue. The Paulista Avenue has more teams of palliative care than the northern, center, and southeast area, which has 32 million people. And you can see the big inequality, unfortunately. And this is just to give you a token of what we have to go through, because we understand that in our country we have 27 states and only 9 of them have a residence of palliative care. And there's a lot of progress in many of these residencies, which are of a very high quality. They are regulatory residencies, meaning that they are ruled and regulated by the Ministry of Education, like the University of Sao Paulo, which is considered the best university, and it has a hospital complex with more than 2,400 beds and more than 50,000 professionals and 7 institutes, which have a very high level of complexity and a huge team of palliative care. And this team, belonging to the University of Sao Paulo, has a service that serves in terms of outpatient services. They have home assistance, and also we have 29 residents on pediatric and palliative care. 12 physicians, 2 nurses, 2 psychologists, 2 odontologists, 2 physiotherapists, and so on and so forth. This is a very high level of complexity. However, this is not enough. This is not enough for such a big country. How come our society has faced this challenge? We understand that it isn't possible. It isn't possible to wait for such a long time and for so many residencies. So we have worked together, working with other associations, and this is what they have done to develop essential competencies for our palliative care experts, so that all the intensive care doctors come out from the residence knowing that it is essential to have palliative care in their curriculum. And this is already something that has been developed, and it should be a standard. In the same way, there are courses that are regulated by the Ministry of Education. They are specialization courses with more than 360 hours, and it is in 9 of the 27 states. And they have specialization courses, and many of these courses are of a very high quality. And this is the Syrian Lebanese hospital. We have only dealt with the technical issues, but also issues which have to do with leadership behavior, because we understand that when people go back to the States, they should be able to change the culture where they live. More than technical aspects, we emphasize those issues which have to do with the behavior. So the outcome here is that all these specialization courses are training and forming professionals who go back to their states, to the places where they live, and then they resume with their palliative care work in almost all these centers belonging to the Federation. However, this is not our main challenge. Our main challenge is these courses with a short duration, which have increased exponentially in our country. Just to give you an idea of what I mean, our association just this year in 2018 received 164 requests of short-term courses, and requesting the support of our society to be able to do this. They might be very good, but they have a lot at stake. Many of these courses are of a very poor quality. They have to do with people who have not even studied palliative care, and they have not even practiced on palliative care. And in some of these courses, there is a suspicion that behind of them there is a very strong financial interest. So our concern now is how are we supposed to guarantee the quality of these courses, which grow without any sort of control. And this is why we believe that it isn't worth trying to reinvent the wheel very urgently. We need a policy on palliative care that will regulate all the activities. And below this umbrella, we hope that education will have a certain level of quality and some regulations. And if everything goes well next week in our federal district, there will be voting that has to do with the national policy on palliative care. And I hope I can give you good news next week and be able to tell you that we will very shortly have a national policy on palliative care in our country. I hope that we can now celebrate this within our Congress. This is a Palliative Care International Congress that will be organizing November in Belo Horizonte with more than 1,500 participants so far. So we hope we will have 2,000 people enrolled in our Congress, and we will have world leaders such as Tania Pastrana, as well as other leaders coming from different parts of the world. We hope we can really, really celebrate the beginning of a national policy on palliative care that will change the history of our country. Thank you very much.